everyone. My name is Savannah, and welcome back to this episode. So, I am here today with Sneha Mehta, the co founder and CEO of Uncover Skincare, a brand that is reshaping the narrative around melanated skin. Welcome, Sneha.
Thank you, Savannah. So excited to be here.
Excited to have you. So, we're talking about Uncover Skincare and the experience that you've had as a woman entrepreneur in Africa. So, let's start with the brand of Uncover. What inspired you to get started on this and to develop this brand?
So for me, Uncover is a mix between my professional experience, which is in finance, in business. I was an investor investing in other companies, and I always said I will start my own company one day, but also my personal traumatic experience. So about 7 or 8 years ago, I was working in private equity. I was traveling across the continent. I was really stressed, and my skin is hypersensitive to stress. So I had a breakout on both my cheeks, and I was feeling really bad about it. It was almost the Christmas holidays. I was about to attend a wedding. And so I researched who the best dermatologists in Nairobi are. And this particular name came up here in Nairobi as the best dermatologist. So everybody said, this guy can fix you. And so I went to him and I said, look, I really want to clear this acne. What do I do? And long story short, he gave me products that burnt my entire face. And so I had firsthand felt the two problems that Uncover is aiming to solve. Number one is knowledge. So we are here to empower women with knowledge on how to take healthy care of themselves. I didn't have that knowledge, and I didn't have access to that even with the best dermatologist in Nairobi. And then secondly, products. I realized there's so much fake products out there. There's so many bad ingredients, harmful ingredients. Who is creating affordable, healthy, safe but effective skincare for women of color? So yeah, that's my personal story. And then as my business world and my personal world, joined together, Uncover was born, and it's something I'm deeply passionate about.
Wow. And I think that's an experience that I love. Like, I can speak, particularly Kenyan women have had, where you kind of are trying to figure out this new thing that's happening, trending thing that is skincare, because it wasn't really a priority in the past, but it's now coming to the forefront.
Yes.
And so your experience is something that other people have experienced as well. And you mentioned about
100%.
knowledge sharing. Uncover is not just about commercial success, but it's also about social impact.
Yes.
Why is that so central to the Uncover brand?
For us, what we do is we create amazing products specifically tailored to women of color. But that's not our why. Why we exist is to empower a generation of women of color to feel more confident. We feel that women of color have been subject to unrealistic beauty standards. We've been told that fair is beautiful. We've been told that you need to have perfect skin. Our hyperpigmentation, the melanin, there's just so many standards, whether you're brown, you're black, ultimately we realized, and through my own personal experience, that so much of your identity and your self-worth can be tied to some of these things. And we want to let women uncover whoever it is they are unapologetically. We want to empower them with confidence. We want them to affirm, which is why all our products have affirmations. And so for us, the impact is really around confidence. And what we've learned scientifically is that mental health is very much linked to how you do in your career, the jobs you get, how you present yourself socially. There really is a link between skincare and depression and anxiety. And that is what we're here to disconnect, right? Own your skin, love it. It's a journey. Don't strive for perfection.
Amazing. I love that. So, in your personal journey, you mentioned you worked in finance and consulting. You were working for McKinsey and Helios and World Bank, and you took all that experience and you kind of said, I actually want to start my own business rather than be a consultant. What was it that inspired you to take that leap to leave consulting and step into entrepreneurship yourself?
It wasn't a straight jump. That's the first thing I will say. I was dabbling with the idea for a long time. It started with the fact that all my dinner table conversations, all my social conversations were about business ideas. I was on the other side consulting, investing, advising, and I just wanted to put my money where my mouth is. I wanted to do the doing. And every day I'd be like, I have an idea. I have an idea. And at some point I was like, oh my God, this is my calling. I need to do something about it. But it was quite hard to leave a steady, pretty decent paycheck after 10 years of work and say, hey, I'm going to trod on this unproven path I don't have a steady paycheck. I don't know where it's going to go. There's a high risk of failure, like all of that. So initially, when I took a leap, I started working on an educational technology idea, but I was like half. I didn't go all in. I decided to keep a consulting gig so I could have some income and then do that job. And I realized that entrepreneurship, you really have to go all in. And so it was when I joined an incubator program called Antler, that I was able to, fully commit to the idea of Uncover. It was born within that incubator, and that's it. I never looked back.
Oh, and now you've built out a team
Yes.
that is women led, actually.
Yes.
So, what was the experience like? Now you've joined Antler, you are part of this incubator, and now you're able to kind of fully focus on your business. What was it like developing the team? What was the early stages of that business like?
Yeah. To be honest, I think the word team is a luxury in the early stages. You have limited cash and you put a title. I was called CEO, and the CEO could be the janitor, it could be the person who packs influencer packages, CFO, head of operations, head of marketing. I was all of it. So I mean, luckily, I had founders, which means that that's really nice. We were building together. I had somebody to sound decisions off of. And so that was the team. But I really don't know if there was any kind of like delegation happening. I was doing it all. I remember delivering our first sheet masks to retailers personally. I remember packing our influencer boxes. I remember, hosting and organizing every focus group by calling the restaurants myself. Of course, now 4 years into our journey, we have a team of 35 across the continent, and Korea, where we manufacture. So we have a team across the world, and it feels really nice to now be in a phase where, yes, it's still a lot of work and we're still in building phase, but I'm able to focus a lot more on strategic partnerships, strategy, fundraising, finance, cash, some of those things.
Yeah. And you mentioned two things. One was there was a point where you were kind of doing the focus groups yourself, which is a part of the process of developing a really good product. And what was that like? What changes did you have to make early on based off feedback that you got from your users?
Yeah, so this has always been a very critical part of our R&D process. Our R&D process basically has three pillars. The first one is data, and that's where the focus groups are super important. We are making Africa a priority, not an afterthought. We're making melanin a priority and not an afterthought. So we are ensuring that all our products are tested and approved here on the continent. Of course, the sophistication of our focus groups has grown, but the ethos around the fact that 90% of women who try the product have to absolutely love it, say it works, say that it doesn't irritate their skin has never changed. And so that is pillar number one. Pillar number two is we have our own in-house formula scientists. They take that data and then they create a formulation out of it, right? So if you tell me that, hey, I need a sunscreen that has no white cast, I need it to be lightweight, I need it to be fast absorbing for the climate here, that's what's important. And then I have 1,000 other data points and I say, okay, this is what we need to build. And then I give that to the formula scientist creates a formulation, and then that formulation brief gets sent to a Korean beauty lab that we have partnered with. They then use Korean beauty technology along with our formulation brief to create our own proprietary formulations. So back to the focus groups, the ethos has always remained the same. We need 90% of women across Africa, across our focus groups in Kenya and Nigeria, and sometimes now even in other markets, to tell us that these products work, they like them, and then we will release them into the market.
Okay. And then the other thing that you had talked about is early on, of course, you have limited resources. So you're kind of doing everything yourself. But Uncover has now reached a point where it's raised over $1 million in financing, in funding, sorry. So what was the experience going through that funding journey as an African entrepreneur?
Honestly, fundraising has been so hard. It is one of the most difficult things you do because your job running the business doesn't change. So it's almost like adding a second job to your scope. So you still have to, do the strategy, you still have to fix the processes, you still have to come up with a new product, whatever it is in your day-to-day, and then fundraising is a full-time job. Personally, I found it was the times when I was working the longest hours. Emotionally, it's also quite taxing because you do deal with rejection. So it's tough. Everybody sees the news article, Uncover raised a 1.4 million oversubscribed round. Great. And I'm so glad we got there. But the number of conversations that go into that, the number of no's that you get before you get that yes, is not something that people actually see. And so fundraising has been amazing because we've succeeded at it and I love it. But I always like telling the story that it isn't easy. And I, feel for anybody who's going through the journey and have so much advice whenever anybody actually wants to talk about it.
Oh, then we need to schedule another conversation
Yes.
specifically around that.
Yes.
Okay, so now in your personal life as an entrepreneur, I mean, you have a family. How are you managing now with where Uncover is at to keep those things going? I mean, you have kids. So, yeah.
I mean, the best advice I got is to remove the concept of balance, like perfect balance, And I think when you start striving for that, that is hard. Of course, entrepreneurship uncovers like another child, So I have two girls, I have a husband, I have myself that I have to take care of, and then I have a business. It's a lot. So it is about juggling a lot of balls. You're wearing many hats, especially as a woman and especially as a mom. For me, it has been a journey. I've got a personal coach that's really helped me figure out how to schedule my time, how to make sure that, I know my non-negotiables and my boundaries, because ultimately we know health and family are the two most important things. And if you are healthy and you are satisfied in your family life, you'll come to work in a much happier place and you'll be able to deliver in a much happier way. And that is a super important thing that I had to learn. Like, burnout is real. You don't want to like drive yourself into the ground, burn out, and then show up to work. You're not giving your best version of yourself. I mean, I think my journey has been about creating boundaries, non-negotiables, juggling many hats, figuring out scheduling hacks that work for me, trial and error. But it's an ongoing journey, and I think at the end of the day, it's definitely doable. I want to empower more women, to know that they can be mompreneurs.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a real thing, And one thing that Jade is my co-founder, we're both moms. She's got two boys, I've got two girls. We're very passionate about is creating a workplace that enables motherhood and having an impactful, fast-paced job.
Yeah.
If you want that. So we don't operate bum on seat 9 to 5. That's not possible for a mom. If I have to pick my kids up at 3, I have to, but then I will figure out a way to put that time in later after my daughter is in bed. So for us, designing a workplace that enables women is super important.
Wow, love that. What can we look forward to in Uncover moving forward?
There is so much to look forward to. We always say the future is so bright for us, and we feel it. We feel the energy. We feel the momentum. We're excited. Definitely more products. We are doing so much R&D right now in conjunction with the Korean labs and our formula scientists and our focus groups to bring more products into our two core markets of Kenya and Nigeria. We want to bring even more women into our community from across the continent. And even the diaspora. So expand our reach beyond Kenya and Nigeria. And I think at the end of the day, the number of ideas that we have are probably too many. So I do think it's going to be about prioritization. We want to create a content studio. We want to have a club, for our community members. We want to host master classes. We want to revolutionize women's wellness across Africa. We want to be the #1 skincare brand across Africa, and we totally believe it's doable.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for spending time with us, Neha, and for sharing your story. It's truly incredible what you're doing for women around skincare and specifically in Africa. I mean, even I use skincare, so I'm personally impacted by some of the things that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Savannah. It's been amazing to talk to you.
All right. And thank you all for joining this episode. We look forward to having more conversations around women in entrepreneurship. So stay tuned by following this channel.